Okay, another little job that we're doing at the moment is to do with the poo hole for the house. So since this pipe that was sticking up above the ground has been removed, Sunter's a little concerned that the level of the ground means that during heavy rain water could get in through the top and basically fill the poo hole up with water and create problems for us with our sewage storage. So the plan now is to dig out around the existing pipe with a suitable slope, and then to tee in this small pipe here with the inspection chamber for the pipe that is taking the shower water and basin water away from the house. So hopefully that will resolve any flooding potential issues. So it's just a question of getting the right levels and getting that smaller pipe teed in. We've chosen a smaller pipe to tee in because of the levels. They're very, very fine and we haven't got a lot of play in that. So we're going to see if we can get away with just using a smaller pipe. Well, a great big storm has just broken. I haven't finished this pipe yet, but it's working already, look! So I've got to mortar in around here so we don't get water sort of running lots of sand into the pipe. So I've got to mix a load of mortar and mortar it all in, and mortar the pipe in so it's properly blocked off at that end so the water can't come down the loose soil that will inevitably end up around that pipe. But at least it's working. The saying goes, the devil's in the detail, and unfortunately we had to go out yesterday afternoon about 3 o'clock, and the last couple of hours he spent doing this counter facing wall, which I'm not particularly impressed with, despite encouraging him to use the spacers. They clearly haven't been used. And this little lack of thought process going in, which is frustrating. I'm not going to get it changed because it would mean taking the whole of that face off and probably winding him up to the extent that he walked off the job. And that's what you've got to be careful of in Thailand to a great degree, is not to upset the workers too much with your finicky ways. Anyway, the spacing isn't brilliant. Then we've got this sort of thing, which to me sticks out like a sore thumb, probably something and nothing really, but why put the cut joints here where it's the most obvious when it could have gone here where it would probably never be seen. Same with this sink area here. So we've got a tiny little joint here. When he could have cut this tile, to accommodate that, exactly the same as he's cut this tile here, and this tile here, and this tile here. And of course that tiny little joint is sticking out right in front of us as we walk towards the kitchen. Again, once it's grouted in and the cupboards are in, it probably won't be noticeable, but it's just these little details that you have to keep an eye on. And to be honest with you, if I was capable of tiling, I'd probably do it myself, but I know that I wouldn't be able to do the tiling. I've just got to try and best as I can encourage him to use the spacers and the levelers that I buy, and to keep an eye on the finish, and just to try and stop this. But when you get demands where you're asked to go somewhere and run an errand or go and buy something, so it's just one of those things. If this was a contractor and we had a contract, I would definitely walk in here and say, no, that's not good enough, do it again, because it's his problem then, not mine. I was very lucky with the weather yesterday. It threatened to rain all day, but it didn't rain very much here at all, apart from at the very beginning of this job. So once I'd laid my mortar in place, it stayed dry. So this has managed to dry now overnight. It's had a good 16 or 18 hours of drying, and I can fill it in with stones now, and the next stage will be to lift that top, clean off the rim, and mix some mortar, a fairly dry mix of mortar, to put around the edge, and just plonk that lid back on so it's nice and firm and there's no gaps around it, and it's not going to wobble when we walk over it. And then finally we probably end up with a very, very thin layer of stone over that, just to hide it. This hole filled up with water draining from where we were using the hose just here, which is why we moved the hose over there in the end. Interestingly, that hasn't gone down, so the mortar that was put around the pipe by Suntory has worked, because it hasn't leaked down into the pipe. But that's going to need to be bailed out now, so that can be backfilled with soil and compacted down. I'm pleased to say also that there were no leaks in the new guttering yesterday during the heavy storm, so that's very pleasing. That means that as soon as we get our next delivery of pipes, I can formally make a down pipe for each side, attached to the outside wall and draining into the field somewhat. So another idea, seeing as around that pipe was flooded, so obviously the water from this surrounding land is draining into that area, I've decided to make another drain here. So we've cut off the pipe, the inspection pipe as it were, underneath the ground level, and I'll just fit a drain like I did with the other one on top. I'll just put stones on top of it which will hold it in place, and that'll be another little drain to try and keep this area free of excess water, although the excess water at the moment is mainly due to the amount we're using through that hose pipe, which is not representative of rainfall, which, as you can see, will be a very, very narrow area here. Anyway, that will help with that. The next thing we started to do was to fit the sink, just to get the levels right, and we discovered that the sink is actually bowed slightly, so Suntory's come up with an idea to put it in the sun to heat it up, and place weights in the middle to try and unbow it, try and get it to bend slightly the other way. So we'll see what happens with that. Don't want to put too much weight in the centre just in case it completely buckles, but we'll give it a go, see what result that gives us. So we're cracking on with some grouting now. So we've pretty much done all that you can see, and the other bit to be done is the inside of this counter, which she's in the process of actually tiling. And look, I asked Suntaray to have a word with him about using the spacers, and he's used the spacers, and that's a much better result. Not that we're going to see very much of that, but at least it's giving him some practice ready for the big event, which will be the bathrooms. I've got a bit of spare muck, so I thought I might as well do this lid. So I pulled the lid off, and the poo hole is half full of water already, and we haven't even started using it yet, so that's obviously because it's flooded. It may get water coming in the cracks of the rings as they go down, but it would have to be pretty prolonged and heavy rainfall for that to happen. So it's probably all been coming in the top here. Anyway, Suntaray's got a pump, so we're going to get that going, get the water out of the compound. We'll see what we can do.
Keep this water, when you clear all of the water, you can pump this, clean the stone.
No, because it'll end up in there again. It's not working yet. Is it working? Oh yes, it's working now, I can feel it. Yeah, it must be working, because the dogs have suddenly run to the end of the pipe, so they must be seeing the water coming out. I can just about feel it working, so this will take about 15 minutes. Now we've been invited over to Suntaray's brother's new house for a barbecue, and a few videos ago I showed you them laying the footings for this and doing the ceremony for the post setting, and they've had this built by a construction company. It's taken them absolutely no time at all compared to us. It is night time, but all the lights are good, so I'm going to take you around very quickly and show you what they've created. I've just checked, and it took them 2 months to build this from that ceremony that I filmed. Here we've got the parking area. We've got very, very high ceilings here. Got the terrace area. Feels very nice underfoot, so these are very tactile, these tiles. Little table around the edge, the sort of thing we're going to have. Oh, he's turned the lights off now. Let's see if I can turn them back on. Here we go. So this is the living room. The colour scheme for this house was actually chosen by Suntaray's daughter, because she's going to come and live here next year so she can go to a better school. So we've got a big living area, and literally they're still moving in, so a lot of the furniture and things are still covered. We've got a bedroom in here. Nice door. Well, that's a 6-foot bed, so that's 2 metres. So I reckon this is probably about 3.5 metres square, roughly. Not much room for wardrobes, but they don't tend to go for wardrobes, do they, in this country so much? I'm sure there'll be other storage in the living area. Back here we've got the kitchen room. Huge kitchen room. Kitchen diner, I expect this will end up as. As you can see, they're going for pre-made kitchen units. Got a couple there and one there. And a very traditional Thai style kitchen, this, in as much as it's open. This is the back of the parking area, and then you've got the open walls here. The house is quite remote, so they've got plenty of bars and security features here. This is the second bedroom. Probably about the same size as the first bedroom. And that's it. You'll notice that there's no shower room within the house itself. That's outside to the side, I think. That's the one that I filmed in my original film of the ceremony time. Okay. So it shows what can be done very, very quickly if you want to have someone build you a very standard style Thai house under contract. Got a big area here. I don't know if they're going to tile it at some time, but it's a very good big area for entertaining. This little area is overlooking their lake. That's where we had our food before. Around the side, around the back as it were, is water storage, and that's the toilet block. So yeah, you do have to come out of the house if you want to go and have a shower or go to the toilet in the night. Apparently the whole thing cost 780,000 baht, as you see it now. So if that's of any interest to people, our build is going to come in at slightly less than that probably by the time we've finished the house. Just the house, I mean, not the garage and the retaining wall and the raising of the land.